Hey family, shout out to all my sinners watching over on Southern Sin. That's our sister channel, your new home for true crime. And I want to say hey to all of our truth tellers and our day ones that are in the chat on Truth Talks Live here. We see you. Thank you for being here. Don't just sit in the chat. Say something. Don't just stalk us. Like, subscribe, become a member, say something so we can put your comments on the screen because we love hearing from you guys. You guys are the 13th juror on this show, and I love having you. You know how I do it. I have my drink with me. My drink is Tito's strawberry lemon drop martini made by Tito's. Thank you, Tito's. Why? Because every time you see me sip, that means I'm smelling some bullshit in one of these stories. So if you see me sip, write it in the chat, sip, or take a sip of the drink that you have because we're about to get into it. So you're watching Reasonable Doubt. This is the show where pop culture, justice, and law all collide into one right here on Truth Talks Live. We are not Court TV, we are not CNN, and we are proud to say that. We go buck. That's the end of it. So tonight, we're breaking down the cases that everybody is talking about. The first one drives me absolutely insane. Alex Murdaugh 2.0. Alex Murdaugh is the family annihilator, the South Carolina attorney that was found guilty of double murder of his son and his wife. He's getting another shot after his murder conviction was tossed out. I watched the trial. I watched the documentary. I watched all the movies. I am obsessed with this case. And my question is, will this family annihilator get away with double murder? He testified on his own behalf. He was his own worst enemy. It was a fucking charade, and it was just a circus show. We're about to do it all over again. So stay tuned because we're going to get into that. We're going to find out what's coming up. He was in court yesterday looking kind of wild and crazy. So we'll get into Alex Murdaugh 2.2, or I should say 2.0. Carmelo Anthony has assembled a legal dream team to overturn his conviction. As you know, Carmelo was charged with the murder of Austin Metcalf. He was sentenced to, I think, 35 years in prison. He's got this new legal dream team because his previous defense was questionable. This is a powder keg, right? A lot of race baiting, a lot of racial tension on both sides of the equation of this story. And my question is this appeal real, or is it a long shot just to appease the internet and all the internet outrage that comes with the Carmelo Anthony story? We'll dive deep into that and see what our defense attorneys have to say. Plus, where the fuck is Nancy Guthrie? Where is this 86-year-old woman? Yesterday, the story gets more and more bizarre with each month that goes by. And I hate to say that she's been gone for months, but this 80-year-old woman has been gone for months. And it's a total mystery that just gets stranger and stranger by the day. Yesterday, TMZ announced that they got yet another secret letter with a hidden cell phone, alleged kidnapping video. They're asking for Bitcoin to release the video. But apparently you can see the kidnappers there's two apparently people in the video that allegedly kidnapped Nancy. My question is Nancy Guthrie, who was already unhealthy in her 80s, even still alive? I mean, is this someone just playing a horrible game with her family? Or is this video real and it's finally the break the investigators have been working for? TMZ was trying to air it out yesterday. They were trying to push the envelope on that. We'll get into that, talk it up a little bit. But where the fuck is Nancy? And who has her? This is ridiculous. Last on our docket tonight, chilling update in the death of Anna Kepner. If you don't know this case, 18-year-old Anna Kepner was found dead aboard a cruise ship. I think it was a Carnival cruise ship. Now, I cruise all the time. And as you guys know, I have two young adults, a 20 and a 21-year-old, and they get their own rooms now and all that great stuff. I would be devastated if I woke up one morning and they did not wake up on a cruise ship. Cruise ships are so contained. It's like, how much can actually happen to a person on a cruise ship if you don't fall over? So new details about Anna Kepner have come out, and it's delicately talking about her final moments. And those final moments are sending shockwaves throughout the internet and are going to play out in the courtroom. If you don't know, her stepbrother, who was also a teenager, is accused of murdering her, and he's now being tried as an adult. So we're going to dive into that and find out where we are with the Anna Kepner story. These young people murdering people is just, it's shocking to me, but I guess that's the world that we live in. So listen, get your drink, like and subscribe, because our legal panel is locked in and ready to break it all down for you. Hit that like button one more time, subscribe, and let's get into it. This is Reasonable Doubt. Let's go.
Every trial has a story the jury never hears, where the truth lives outside the courtroom. Join our host, Emmy winner Jodi G, and the sharpest legal minds in the business for a new riveting show, Reasonable Doubt, What the Jury Doesn't Hear. No grandstanding, no spin, just the arguments that could change everything.
Hey,
Everybody.
We're back. We are back. Hi, I'm Jodi G. You're watching Truth Talks Live, and I have two of my besties with me. And, you know, I always have their number in my back pocket in case I get pulled over or I act a fool somewhere. So welcome, attorney Gerald Griggs. He's a defense attorney. He's our justice fighter. He's here with us week in and week out, but he's also in the streets. He's an advocate. He's just that guy that's going to fight for everything. You know him from R. Kelly, and you know him from Ahmaud Arbery. Welcome, Gerald Griggs.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Good to see you. How's your baby?
He's doing great. He's probably watching right now.
Oh, good. My little internet nephew. And to my right, or maybe your left, Josh Schiffer. He's the man with the plan. He's the man with the glasses, and he has a cat that walks through our shot. We love Josh Schiffer. He's been nothing but a defense attorney his whole career. He never crisscrossed over to prosecution, so he's representing the defense in this argument or any argument we have. And I promise you, if you get in trouble, you need to call Josh Schiffer. Josh at Lawyer Schiff. Josh Schiffer, you need to call him. He will get your ass out of trouble. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here. And wow, there's been a little bit going on. We got a lot to talk about.
A little bit going on. We have Franz Borgat. He's going to join us later. He's another, I call him our prosecutor, defense attorney, flip-flopper, but he's going to be joining us in a little bit. But I wanted to dig right in because we got a lot to talk about tonight. Like I said, we're not CNN. We're not Court TV. Court TV is actually over. So we're going to take their spot. Like and subscribe. Make sure you follow both of these gentlemen because they will give you the best legal advice ever. So tonight, gentlemen, a lot happened in the criminal world this week. Yesterday was a trip. My favorite all-time case in the world came up. Alex Murdaugh, my boy.
I'm glad.
Go ahead.
I said the case just won't go away.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, 2.0. Let me set it up for people that don't know. Alex Murdaugh, quick recap, attorney from South Carolina. His family pretty much ran the whole place for almost 100 years. He killed his son and wife, was convicted of the double murder and also financial crimes, so stealing from his clients. He's just a piece of shit. The best trial, I watched every minute of it. The best documentaries, the best Lifetime movie, because everything he did was so bizarre and just so egregious that I was glad to see him go away. So long and short, after he's been in jail for maybe 2 years now, and come to find out, his attorneys argued that a clerk in the court was tampering with the jury and messed up everything. And so I guess he's getting a redo. In my layman's term, that's what's going on. Josh, where are we with this fool? And my biggest question is, do you think he's going to testify again on his own behalf? Because he was a show.
He really did a good job summarizing how we got to here today, because otherwise, talk about burning money. Talk about a waste of resources.
Huge.
Guy gets convicted, and then while that horrific process of him being put on this very famous trial that is then completely broken by an idiot local clerk who put her thumb on the scale in a way and then fought it and lied and showed exactly why we can't have nice things. He ends up pleading guilty to lots of other crimes involving kind of open, naked fraud. He was stealing from his clients. He was stealing from his partners. Guy was just a disaster. So he's not going anywhere. Everybody just needs to understand that. Even if he wins the murder trial, he ain't going anywhere.
Why? What do you mean he's not going anywhere?
Oh, he's done. He's sitting for life. He's got enough prison time. But they're going to retry him. And this gives the defense a real straightforward pathway to swing big, and they came out big. They're going to get to retry the same case without any new major, late discovered stuff, but they're still going to try to get in whatever they tried last time and couldn't. Right now, that's looking like some big DNA evidence. Inserting another person into this equation looks to be the defense pathway Murdaugh's going to take.
Gerald, what difference does it fucking make? He's in jail for the rest of his life, right? So what difference does it make? Is this a moral victory? Is this like we're going to do it just to prove he didn't kill his family? Like, what's the point?
I think from the very inception, he's maintained that he's innocent of all these charges. And so when you deal with a person who had such an extravagant lifestyle, who was from a very wealthy family, well known in that part of South Carolina, this is about saving face. And so for him to get an opportunity to show that he did not kill his wife, he did not kill his son, I think he will take every avenue to try to prove that. And as Josh said, there potentially could be new evidence of the DNA that adds to his testimony, because I truly believe he's going to testify again. He's the type of person, yes, he's the type of person that has to get his side of the story out. But I think his defense counsel will have a better opportunity not only to push forward what his narrative is, but also to poke holes in the state's theory with the DNA evidence.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Josh.
I'm with Gerald on that. This needs to be a different trial from the defense. They tried it one time and they lost, and they got a lot out of it. But if you go retry that same case, the state's going to win again. They're going to change things up. And I agree with Gerald that keeping him off the stands probably for the best, because it narrows the fulcrum that the jury's going to be focused on. In this case, so much of the evidence is just retrial. You can't change the story. It's going to be an exercise in impedance. This is what you testified to last time. Is that all still true? Yes.
Right.
So how do you insert a new fulcrum for that jury to go, never mind, this is how I'm going to find that the state failed? And I think it's that sufficiency angle that the defense is going to bring up with the DNA, with the lack of investigation, with all the stuff that actually came out because the case was so high profile. So many people in the community talked about it, thought about it, and analyzed it in different perspectives. That creates angles for defense attorneys. We saw that in Arbery. We see that in all of these high profile cases, getting all that extra scrutiny. Some good stuff falls out of that scrutiny from the public. And in this case, if they can narrow the murder trial into, hey, the state had this cooked from the beginning, and they never wanted to test this other DNA, and they fought us every way, so there's an insufficient amount of evidence to clarify why you should convict. That's how
I think even the best defense attorney, if they are able to pull all that off, let's look at the facts. The facts are he lied. The timeline in which somebody killed his son and wife was a very narrow window. And he lives on a property there is nobody around for like 3,000 acres. And he was the one that was within minutes. You could hear his voice on an audio recording that he was actually at the crime scene. Like, how do you, as a defense attorney, how do you get around that? Even if I put him on the stand again, and we know everything the prosecution is going to put forth, how do you get around the fact that he placed himself there because he was there?
I mean, there's never going to be an argument that he wasn't there. The argument is going to be whether or not he committed the murder. And I think the DNA is going to show that there's the possibility that another person committed the murder. All you have to do is give a reasonable possibility to doubt the state's case, and that's not guilty. And that's why you have to keep your client off the stand. Yeah, we can admit he was there. He lives there. He was there. You can hear him from the video, from the audio in the recording. But there's no proof that directly points that he killed him. But there is proof that somebody else was present and potentially could have committed the murder.
Yeah, you know what? Go ahead, Josh.
Gerald knocked that one out just because that's exactly what it is. You can't contravene the state's evidence in what happened in the first trial. Guess what? That stuff happened. He was there. These were the people where they were. This is the investigation they had. So what more would upset a jury? Well, what else didn't you get to see, jury? What could change a jury's mind? So this isn't a case of just believe this story. It's you got a story, but there's so much more you didn't get. And how can you be comfortable with beyond a reasonable doubt if you knowingly were prohibited and restricted from getting the truth? I say it all the time. Trial is not an exercise at finding the truth. No, trial is an exercise in hiding information from jurors.
It seems like it's an exercise in storytelling. Whoever has the best story is going to win. Because in this case, I know the defense in this particular next trial, they asked to move the location or whatever. What does that call? The change of venue.
Yeah.
But this man has had 4 documentaries, 2 Lifetime movies. Like, who doesn't know? Like, where are they going to get a jury in South Carolina, at least?
Where do you try Donald Trump? Where do you try the governor?
Yeah.
I get it. There's only so much they can do. If I'm the state, I'd say, yeah, try it anywhere else in the state. But it's going to be a very different trial. Remember, we also don't have the amazing Judge Newman who was in charge of the first trial. That dude deserves every award ever. I love the trial judge. I thought he was fantastic. I don't know the new judge. I don't know if the new judge is worth a damn or not.
Yeah, that last judge, even like leading up to the trial, he was making decisions like, no, you ain't no bail for you. Take your ass to jail. Like, I was like, wow. Okay, here we go. So yeah, he set the stage for like he wasn't trying to be on the take at all.
But I think in these high-profile cases, you got to lean into the high-profile nature of the case. And so, as you have stated, there are multiple documentaries, movies. There's a whole Netflix special. You got to lean into that because, again, there's no place in South Carolina. Heck, there's no place in the United States that does not know who Alex Murdaugh is and probably have watched the Netflix documentary. Right. You got to lean into that because there was so many questions that were presented in that documentary and the others that you can use to dispute the state's case.
And well, the documentary, the Netflix documentary is where you got to see the clerk for the first time. I remember when I first saw that documentary, I was like, why is she able to be in this documentary? I'm a documentarian. I've won Emmys for directing documentaries, and there's lines you don't cross. And when I saw her, I was like, that's like I don't know. I just thought she was too happy to be in it. She was too in it. She had a book. She was promoting all kinds of stuff. And I knew then there was problems. What were you going to say, Josh?
But that's exactly what it is. And like Gerald said, leaning in with it. Hey, if there's this much hubbub and friction and smoke and discussion, how are you going to get to beyond a reasonable doubt? This many smart people got along and said, hey, there are more questions after he'd been convicted. Now, how are you going to tell me you don't have more questions now? And that's how you take that first trial into a second trial. And without saying your burden increasing, you're really trying to show that the state has a burden they can't meet because they didn't do the investigation in the first place. They should have done more better then. They can't fix it now. And that's how you get a jury to go, listen, looks like he did it, certainly was involved. He's a lying sack of crap who's a terrible criminal. But look, he pled guilty to all that stuff. He's not going anywhere.
Right.
I didn't like that in if I'm a defense attorney. Yeah, no, he ain't getting out anywhere. This is just for principle. Who the hell goes to trial for just principle?
Well, so I'm going to ask you guys, you're defense attorneys. First of all, where's the money coming from to pay the defense attorneys? I thought he was wasted in that last trial. And are these defense attorneys just doing it for clout now? Are they clout chasing?
Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, it's a high-profile case. You know, it's going to be a second Netflix documentary. But absolutely. I also think that he's still independently wealthy, and there's still money there. He's not completely broke. So I think that in this case, as a defense attorney, you're trying to do 2 things. One, you're trying to make sure that your client's constitutional rights are protected. But 2, you're trying to make a name for yourself. So there are a few lawyers that would love to take this particular case to be able to do something like what, Johnny might have done with OJ. You got a case here where, there's some real issues with the investigation, shift it from the actual victims and focus on the investigation and the lack of sufficient efficacy in how the state brought their case. I think there's a lot of holes in this case. I think you can drive a truck through them.
I wish one of you would get on this so that I can follow you as a documentarian and I can get the next Netflix because I am obsessed with that case. Well, all right.
Look at how successful every one of the lawyers involved was and has remained. So I don't think someone has to put up that much money, but I'm with Gerald. There's a trust or somebody that's paying his bills. Like it ain't get that much power without putting multiple different revenues out there.
Well, I'll say this. The retrial is scheduled for April 5th, 2027. We will be broadcasting that retrial here right on Truth Talks Live. I just have never seen a defendant with so many bodies surrounding him. Like he has body count and not be a gangster and not be a drug lord. His body count. There was Mallory Beach. There was a young boy that was found in the street that Buster Murdaugh was associated with killing, and I forget Stephen Smith. He was a young boy found murdered in the middle of the street, and the last person that saw him was Buster Murdaugh. And then their nanny, fell down the steps on their property. And then he's got his wife and his kid. I'm like, you got too many bodies in your coffin, Dub. Too much. Moving on from Alex Murdaugh, let's move to something that's a little bit more painful for me. Carmelo Anthony now has what we are calling the Dream Team defense team. And just a little recap, Carmelo, his legal team has a major upgrade. They added some of the biggest names in criminal trials and in criminal defense. The real question is, are they building a defense for the courtroom, or are they building a defense for the court of public opinion? I feel like there was a lot of outrage associated with this case. The defense did a horrible job. And for those that don't remember, Carmelo Anthony was convicted of murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet. A lot of details in there, but it's become a racial powder keg. Keisha, put up the picture of all the new defense attorneys, because I thought I recognized one. Do you guys know any of these defense attorneys? We have from left to right, Russell Wilson II, Michael Ware, Gary Bledsoe, Brooke Cluse, Sean DeRidia, and Justin A. Moore.
Yes,
I
know Gary Bledsoe. He's the president of the Texas NAACP and an exceptional lawyer. And a few of the lawyers have ties with the Texas Innocence Project. So I think this is a phenomenal legal team with a lot of appellate experience. And I think that, yes, they're going to fight this on two fronts. One front is the court of public opinion. But anytime you're in an appellate case, you got to think about the appellate bench and the legal arguments that you're going to have to make to get to overturning this conviction and possibly get a new trial. So yes, there'll be two fronts they're fighting this, but they have a great legal team that's headed up by civil rights attorney Ben Crump, as well as others.
Yeah, I was going to say Ben Crump is now at the table as well. The attorneys all said they're going to represent him pro bono, and they're going to conduct what they call an independent review of the case to see if there's any legal errors that occurred in the trial before to really stand on for appeal. Is that the process? Like, they're saying they're going to review it, but I'm like, what does that mean?
That's the safety valve built in. And we talked about this briefly last time, that, and I'm with you, that defense, terrible. Certainly didn't work. Landed like a lead balloon while we were watching it.
Yeah.
Certainly people were like, that's what the money bought? And there's been a lot of other externalities with this case. There was drama with the family. There was drama with the community. And then notice the trajectory of this case went from 0 to 100 and then right back down to 0 pretty quickly.
Yep.
Because I think that from a legal perspective, man, the defense sucked, but it was adequate legally.
Yeah, you may not like it, but they did what they're supposed to. Even if they phoned it in, they did everything sort of by the book.
And the bar for ineffective assistance of counsel is very challenging. And so I think that these lawyers are smart to come back and say, we're going to review everything before we start talking about it. Now, it may be ammunition for other actions and part of a larger effort. In fact, I'm certain it is, given the caliber of lawyers involved, using this as a fulcrum for additional judicial and justice reform. But as for the case itself, unfortunately, barring some sort of miracle, I believe Mr. Anthony is going to rot in prison forever, because that's what's going to happen. I don't see any court overturning the conviction.
I mean, as the young people say, he's cooked. I think he's cooked. I thought that before he even announced the appeal. Gerald, if they go for it, what are they going to stand on? What is the biggest thing they can stand on?
Well, I mean, ineffective assistance of counsel. There's going to be questions about why Mr. Anthony did not testify. Did he get advice from his counsel, and did he rely on that advice for counsel to not testify? Where was the evidence of self-defense? So I think that's where they're going to focus. I do agree with my good friend, Mr. Schiff, that it's going to be an uphill battle, because you have to show that no competent lawyer would have pursued this particular angle of defense. And that's very difficult in ineffective assistance of counsel claims. Now, there may be some newly discovered evidence. I again, in the internet chatter, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah.
To hunt that down and lock that in with actual competent testimony. But I do see it's a very difficult road to hoe. And I think that there may be something else behind this to talk about the lack of fairness, to use the court of public opinion to convince Texas to do something different. But it's going to take some years.
Yeah. Now, that's that value that I'm talking about, is the unfortunateness of Mr. Anthony's situation, which is tragic. I don't believe that lifetime incarceration does a damn thing except cost money. His value to the universe now is more likely going to be as context and as illustrations of the cruelty of our system, where how can a young man have his whole life changed with these very quick decisions, these emotional, difficult, challenging, opaque moments. And that's where our biggest cases come from. And it's this over analysis of these very short periods of time. And then we try to apply the law to it. And it's a mess. That illustrative value is high. And I hope that he serves that as we continue to reform the system. Texas is particularly cruel.
Gerald, I see 6 people on my screen besides the 3 of us. Where were they in the last trial? Where were they?
That's a good question. And I know that he got bad counseling from his former PR team. There's a lot of noise on the internet about who chose the lawyers, why they chose the lawyers. I'm talking about the lawyers for the actual trial and not these fine attorneys. And so I think that, they were not contacted before. But now that they're here, I think that there's going to be a few avenues. I think one of the things that's novel, we got to see finally the cell phone recording and the surveillance footage before. Yeah. Maybe that can be enhanced to actually show what actually happened under that tent, which would lead to newly discovered evidence that may show self-defense. Again, these are all things that with a legal team this powerful, you might be able to entertain. But there's the uphill battle, as my good friend Josh has stated.
So what has to happen? So if they have a successful appeal, then we rinse and repeat. We start back over and retry them again. Is that what happens? If in a perfect world,
if they're granted a new trial, now if they overturn the conviction, which is highly unlikely, but if they overturn the conviction, he could go free. But more than likely, what would happen is they would grant a new trial, similar to what we were talking about in the MURDAUGH case.
So there's 2 things that can happen. They could overturn it. Bye-bye. Vacate it, right? Is that what they call it? They vacate it?
They could vacate it, yes.
And then just grant him a new trial. Those are the 2 things. Or the third,
stay
your ass where you are.
Deny his appeal.
Yeah.
He just served the rest of the sentence of 35 years.
Yeah, do not pass go.
And then you got this one. If you've got some toehold and you've got a good appeal going, state's going to show up and go, all right, let's not do this appeal. Let's cut a deal in the background, make everybody happy. And a lot of times that is done to hide egregious errors by the state and big problems because they don't want an appeal coming out that's going to burn them. And you got to put your client first above the fact that this may be a good case, But you see, especially with racial and other high intensity issues where the state does not want attention.
Yeah, I was going to say with the race piece in this whole thing, I would think what you just described, the louder of what you just described is probably the best way to go.
They come back and go, listen, we've got a 10%, 20% chance of winning this on the defense and on the appeal. But if the state's willing to give them 10 to the door right now, we'd take it. And it's ugly. But, man, 10 to the door versus what did he get? 35?
35. Yeah, 35.
Ridiculous. It's like, no, man, give me 10 to the door in a heartbeat. I'll take it all day.
Yeah, I'll take 10.
Guaranteed 10 versus, a bunch of people in dresses hiding behind a bench. Anything. Guarantees matter.
Well, hit us in the chat. Tell us what you guys think about Carmelo Anthony because this case is still unfolding. We're going to keep track of it. I don't particularly think there's a lot that he's going to be able to do in this appeal process, even though he's got this giant team of folks. And I just question where they were before. I'm praying for him. My heart is breaking for both those families, but I really, really feel bad for him because after seeing the footage, I saw the clip of where he was going underneath the tent and I saw where he ran off after the stabbing. And I saw the part that killed me was when he was talking to the police and he got arrested, he was actually asking about Metcalf. He was like, is he okay? Is he alive? And he started crying. He's like, but he hit me. And I was like, oh, just the voice. His
kids. They're children.
His voice knocked me completely out. And I was like, these are kids, man. This is crazy that this happened. So we'll keep an eye on the Carmelo Anthony case. There's another one that is really stuck in my craw and has really got social media buzz. D4VD. David. I swear every week something pops up that I have to talk about this young man. Let me just say this. David, I feel, is this young man who had everything going for him. He broke onto the music scene really quickly with independent music and also like TikTok. He really broke the internet. I didn't know who he was, but my 20 and my 21-year-old knew exactly who he was. He was like the Michael Jackson coming up like for them. And obviously he is charged with the murder of 14-year-old Celeste Hernandez. It's a horrible case. Every time I look at the coroner's report, I get disgusted because her body was so decomposed that it was liquefied. It was liquefied. The other day I did a special where we did the whole timeline on the David case, and everything he did from the moment she was missing until he was arrested is just everything so suspect, right? For me, but I'm Joe Q Public, right? So in July, both sides are going to return to court for an evidentiary hearing. Is that what it's called? Evidentiary hearing?
Yes.
And that could determine what the jury gets to hear and what stays out. If key evidence gets thrown out, is that justice served or is it just a story that got thrown out? Does that make sense? Like if evidence gets thrown out, I don't know what an evidentiary.
So it's the exclusion of the facts that are necessary for the state to bring the case. The state is limited in what it can present to the facts that are admissible. And if they obtained facts and evidence through violating certain laws, due process, etc., the court's remedy or way to address that is to say, all right, we're going to keep that evidence out. So same with the defense. It's one of the common things that the court uses is the exclusionary rule to just remove it from the jury's consideration entirely. And when you say, is that good? It's so many perspectives involved in this. Anytime evidence is not presented to a jury, there's an argument that less than the full truth has been explored. And it's an obviously manipulated presentation to the trier of fact, i.e. the jury. But in many ways, that's the system working properly, because the exclusionary rule is so often applied when the state cheats. That's the best defense we get on my end of the spectrum many days is, whoa. State violated my client's rights. State failed to follow procedure. We don't get to bring that in at all. That eviscerates the state's case. Depending on what evidence is going to be allowed in or out, that's this entire case, because it was a laid out cry, because there was this gap in time. It's not a smoking gun case. There's a lot of room for David to escape liability if he did commit these acts.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is through video camera, they know that he placed his car. He was the last person to drive his car and park it on the street. They don't have video evidence of who put her body in that car. We see him drive the car, but we don't know who put the body in the car. So presumably there's a lot to play with there. The other thing is that really made me sick to my stomach. Her body was in his home for upwards of 12 days before anybody noticed anything. Like, he had parties, he had people over, his best friends were over, and her body was rotting in his house for 12 days. I'm like, this is sick. This is some sick shit. What defense does he have? I mean, other than not guilty, how are you going in on this, Gerald? How are you planning with your client on this one? Like, what are we doing on this one?
Well, easy. There's no proof that he killed her. I mean, there's absolutely no witness. There's no forensic evidence that shows he killed her. There's no video proof. So all you have is her body being found in a car that's associated with him, that he was the last person to drive. That's circumstantial evidence, and circumstantial evidence has to disprove every reasonable hypothesis, save the guilt of the defendant. In this particular case, he may very well have an alibi. Look, I drove the car. I didn't smell anything. I left the car. Somebody else could have killed her, put her in the trunk of the car. Now, of course, he got some issues that he got to deal with, like namely most of his songs talk about him killing somebody and put them in the trunk of a car. But, you know, you do have some things that you can work with. So I think this is the case that I think that evidentiary hearing is going to be key. What comes in, what doesn't come in, will actually tell the story of whether or not the state can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty of the charges that he's accused of.
It feels very circumstantial to me. I wish Franz was here because I want to ask from a prosecutor standpoint, like where are you nailing this? Like, because it seems so circumstantial to me. And if you don't have fingerprints, you don't have video, like where are you going with this?
And that's because the hardest decision in this case is what charge do you bring? Any idiot can come up and charge him with first-degree murder and you ain't going to win.
They're not going to prove that.
And we see that time and time again where the way the state's biggest weakness isn't the case, but it's how aggressive they are with the case. It's going after the top counts, not the counts that actually are justified and made sense. Guys that do what Gerald and I do, so often it's not, my client's not guilty. My client did lots of stuff. Not guilty of what you're charging him with. You charged him with the worst potential perspective of whatever the facts would allow, not what you could actually prove. And that my client will plead guilty to shit you can prove.
Right.
You can prove it, man.
Right.
Let's talk guilty, please. But you can't charge him with 10 other charges on top of stuff. And that's where this case really either comes together or falls apart, is the selection of charges.
This will be interesting. So July 7th, we have a status conference. Can somebody tell me what that is so our audience knows what a status conference is?
So status conference is the determination of where we are in the case. Do you have all the discovery? Are there any outstanding motions that we need to consider? And then, of course, you have the evidentiary hearing where you've brought those motions to challenge certain pieces of evidence, to suppress certain things. I know he didn't give a statement, so it's not going to be dealing with his statement, but anything that potentially could be admissible, but the probative value is outweighed by the prejudicial effect, things like that. That's what the evidentiary hearing will deal with.
So that's the status conference or the evidentiary hearing?
Status conference, right? Make sure that you have all the discovery to see where you are. Evidentiary hearing is to determine whether or not certain pieces of evidence are coming in.
Okay, so the hearing is July 24th. The status conference is July 7th. The hearing is July 24th, and we'll be checking in on both of those to see what's going on. But this case is so heartbreaking for the young lady, and I just hate to see. We did a special the other day, and we had so many comments and so many people blaming her, and it's like this girl was 11 years old when the predator came to her. I mean, and very much like R. Kelly, he put a lot of his stuff in his lyrics, and so it's hard for me to justify any of this. And I can't stand that people are actually coming down on an 11-year-old girl, whether she thought she was Miss Thang or not, whether she thought she could hang with an adult or not. She was 11, and it's horrible. So we'll keep an eye on that case. I actually never had heard of D4VD, so we're going to keep an eye on that because it keeps trending on our timeline and on our channel. So let us know in the chat how you feel about D4VD, David. If you knew who he was beforehand, if you were old like me and didn't know who the hell he was, let us know in the chat, and we'll keep it moving from there. So, one of my favorite stories, I can hear myself, I'm sorry. Nancy Guthrie. Where the hell is Nancy? Gerald, where the hell is this woman?
That's what I've been trying to figure out. We've heard about this case for months. My heart goes out to her family, Savannah, and so many others that we've heard from. And I was hopeful at one point.
Yeah.
The FBI got involved, that they had leads, and then it sort of went cold. And then a few days ago, we got a new lead, a new note, and then we got another note. And so my heart goes out to this family. Hopefully they can find Nancy alive. But the longer it goes, the more likely the story will not end with a happy ending. I know that her daughter and her children and all her grandchildren would love to be with 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, but it just seems like this story has reached a dead end.
It's bizarre. I mean, she's been gone since February 1st, right? She's 80 something. She wasn't in the best of health. Just being kidnapped alone is enough to give you trauma. But at her age, do we really think this woman is alive?
Josh? No, less than 1% chance, in my opinion, that she's still alive. She's the age of my mom. I literally, You get fragile when you get to that age. You just do. I don't care how good shape you're in. Plus, you've got other medical stuff. My questions are, what's with this circus around it? How is TMZ and Harvey Levin suddenly the focal point of FBI negotiations, and is he now the official repository for crazy notes involving crime? Because, you know, the real issue is, who are these people? What are these notes? Who's getting the get?
Well, so yesterday, TMZ, Harvey went on and said they received yet another email from the same person. And they know it's the same person because they keep tracing the IP address. So they know it's the same person. He has sent yet another email. And in this email, he says he has a cell phone that has video footage of her being actually kidnapped. And you can see the two kidnappers in the footage. He's asking for Bitcoin, which
just
lost all of its value. Lost all of its value. Yeah. He's asking for Bitcoin, which right now is like $60,000. But the family put up $1 million bond a long time ago. So I'm like, I'm not sure what the fuck is going on with TMZ. And Harvey Levin then said to the FBI, this guy wants a Bitcoin. Hey, I'll throw him a Bitcoin. It's nothing for TMZ. We'll give him 60 grand. Let's see where we go with this. And the FBI deliberately told them, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
So here's my question. Why is Harvey in this? And secondly, if they can trace the IP address, why haven't they traced the IP address to question this individual who clearly has information as to what happened to Nancy Guthrie? So Harvey needs to be careful if he's not injecting himself into an ongoing criminal enterprise.
Now, I can address the IP thing.
Okay.
The IP thing is, they can verify that it's coming from the same accounts. They can't identify the owner or the source of that account. It's basically showing that, that's the same email address, same pathway from the prior messages. Doesn't say anything else other than that's the same pathway. So
they can't trace it to like a home, or it pinged off a pole.
No, it's going to a server, to a VPN, to a mixing machine that goes all over the world. You can do some real weird stuff with that. But here's the more important part. The notes that have been coming in, there's now this whole iPhone watch band information that no one else would have known, which finally says, all right, is this email person just a crackpot 15-year-old giggling behind a computer, or do they actually know something? And that's really the big question. How is this mystery person that only wants to deal with Harvey Levin, who are they? What do they know? What couldn't they have known? What are guesses? And then there's just no transparency and no trust. Remember, families hate the sheriff. Sheriff's been getting destroyed in the public for his way of handling this stuff. Yeah. It's dug up his life in a terrible way. This case is a disaster.
It's nothing about it seems real. Like, starting with, they kidnapped an 84-year-old woman. Like, what is the value of that? It, to me, I don't know. I thought it was an inside job. When they first broke the story, I thought it was a family member, because I'm like, who is stalking an 84-year-old woman? And quite frankly, Savannah Guthrie's it's not like she's the queen. You know what I mean? It's not like she's worth billions. And so you're going to take her mom and see if you can hold her hostage for billions. It's not like these are two big celebrities that, like, it's not Beyonce and you're like, I'm going to kidnap Blue Ivy and see what we get. So none of it has made sense to me other than it being an inside job.
Don't kidnap Blue Ivy.
Well, yes.
Not do that.
Please.
Sometimes that'd be a hard crime. That'd be a tough one. Sometimes that'd be a tough. No, but you're totally right that it's a weird target. I've vacillated back and forth over whether this was a couple of just local idiots rousting about trying to make some quick money, or whether it had some actual planning behind it because of the celebrity connection. Yeah, you're not going to go kidnap Tom Cruise's person. So that does make sense that you're not going after A tier, but someone that, quote unquote, would have the money, which clearly someone of Miss Guthrie's success would have some amount of money. It just still doesn't make sense. And then once it happened, it fell apart so quick. That leads me to believe it was totally not professional, because professionals wouldn't have acted like that. And if it had been professionals, you never would have heard one thing ever. They would have disappeared so fast. They vanish. So
it's shocking to me. I know at one point they were looking at the son-in-law, because her daughter's husband, I guess they were looking at him at one point. There was a boyfriend or something that they were looking at. I guess those people have been cleared, but once you get outside that circle, who in the hell was looking for Nancy Guthrie? Like, it's just so shocking to me. I'm like, that's like somebody kidnapping my dad. I'm not saying I'm as big as Savannah Guthrie, but like he's doesn't have a lot of value. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. So it seemed personal to me. It seemed like somebody was doing it to that family. And it still seems like they're doing it to the family because they're over and over again just stinging them with these letters and the TMZ-ness of it all and the teasing, and there's no proof of life. It's just a constant, like, we're going to keep sticking it to you. They gave $1 million reward, and there's been nothing concrete. So I keep going back to it's an inside job or somebody she knew.
Either that, or it was literally kind of a last minute, we're going to keep rolling with it. Hey, idiots out there doing idiot stuff. Let's go do a dumb thing really poorly. And then when it all falls apart, when it turns into something we never intended it, we're going to make continuous mistakes. That really could be it.
Do you think this is one of the worst hoaxes we've ever seen in a long time?
I'm hopeful it's not, but I have serious questions at this point because it's been such a long time. And, you know, as much as I respect TMZ, you know, they are involved, and sometimes things go left when you involve media that really deals with sensationalism more than journalism. So I just think that, you know, it's very heartbreaking for her family, but we gone this amount of time, there's not a high likelihood of this being a happy ending.
No.
It's also shown, unlike even some of our most salacious cases, the seamy underside of the true crime universe, because the true wackos have attached to this case and are torturing this family and neighbor. Like some of the true fringe members of the watching community, I'm not going to call them journalists because they're anything but journalists. Literally, it's like it's domestic terrorism what some of these investigatory, you know, terrorists with microphones and cameras are doing to this community and family. It's awful.
It's a sick game. It's a sick game. No matter how you cut it, it's sick to me. And I really do pray this woman finds her way back to her family in one piece. That's all I can say. And I hope it's soon, because I can't imagine having my mom kidnapped. I just can't even imagine what that's like.
There was the silver lining, which was that this indicated that she had passed away and was buried in nature.
Well,
awful as that is,
there was one email that said that. The one that came yesterday contradicted that. They almost reinforced she's still alive. That's why I'm like, there is somebody playing a game with them. And Harvey, I love that he has to report what he reports, but I'm like, you're playing a dangerous game with somebody's real life. Those notes don't feel real to me, but I'm not an investigator and I'm not FBI, and he's going to do what he's going to do. But Harvey literally said, every move we make, every time we post something about Guthrie, this person that's emailing us from this verifiable IP keeps seeing everything we're doing because they email us frequently. You know, it's like, it's such a horrible game. I'm like, just bring this woman home. Let her go. Let her go. What are you getting out of it? Let her go. A Bitcoin? Let her go. All right, moving on. Anna Kepner. Anna Kepner is an 18-year-old young lady. Her story broke probably 6 months ago. She was found dead on a cruise ship. Her body, she's 18. She was on a Carnival cruise with her family. She was in a room with her stepbrother, two of her siblings. One is a step and one is a natural sibling. She's having a good time. All cameras show her all throughout the cruise up until the point she enters her room for the last time. The next day, I think it was November 6th was the last time she was seen. November 7th, her parents wake up. They can't find her. They do a whole search of the ship. They look underneath the bed of her cabin, and her dead body is tucked underneath the bed. And if you've ever been on a cruise ship, it's not like there's a lot of space in these rooms. So somehow her little 18-year-old body was tucked underneath the bed, hidden away, while the other two siblings were in the room asleep. Flash forward, they have now, and I think it's the young man in the red shirt, they have now pressed charges against her stepbrother. He was also a teenager, and he is now being tried as an adult. And apparently there's a lot of video evidence, and there's a lot of evidence that's coming out in regards to how she died. Definitely she died of asphyxiation. And I want to get this right because I felt like it's kind of sad. She had mechanical asphyxiation. which means somebody had their arm around her neck, and I guess they kind of chicken winged her and damn near snapped her neck, but suffocated her that way. My question, Gerald, is a 17-year-old strong enough to do that?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the problem is if they were doing it from that particular angle, it shows some amount of aggression, or they were trying to keep her from doing something. So to put an arm bar on somebody and mechanically asphyxiate them is a horrible way to die.
Yeah. Does it take a lot of strength? Because he's a little scrawny thing. Keisha, show me the young man again. He's a little scrawny thing.
Well, I mean, all he has to do is be stronger than she was.
Right.
And hold it long enough to cause the asphyxiation to kill her. So you don't have to be super strong. But again, that level of force to almost, rip her, neck off.
Yeah, he broke some bones.
So it's just a horrible way to die. And there is obviously more to this story because you don't just wake up in one moment and kill your stepsister.
Yeah, we covered this one right when it started, and as awful as any death of a teenager is, it's awful. The dynamics of this one hit so many scary junctures. It's unbelievable. For people unfamiliar, this is a blended family where there's some serious conflict between the different stakeholders. This was a vacation where apparently this young victim had complained extensively about this young man's inappropriate, highly inappropriate sexual, physical aggression. Previously, this was not a surprise thing. There was discussions about the young man's obsession with her, and they are rooming together on a cruise ship. There's a whole, I've worked a couple of very unfortunate cases where step sibling sexuality is a whole thing out there that I urge you not to search it on the internet. You do not want to see as what happens when humans are left to their own devices. But it also brings up the fact of jurisdiction and criminal issues in the high seas. You're not having a murder in Florida at the port.
Right.
No, this is going to be a weird federal prosecution.
Yep.
It has a lot of the worst stuff out there, but it's worth paying attention to because this is the kind of truly sick violence that society is kind of creating. You talk about this step relationship sexuality stuff, and it's being jammed down these young men's throats.
Right. And the girls. I mean,
it should be. It's jammed down everybody's throats.
Yeah.
The big case in Georgia right now is the 25-year-old daughter of the Georgia State Patrol captain, who's a teacher who was basically running a sex enterprise out of Douglas County.
Oh.
You want to talk about some crazy freak. And then, of course, every horny teenage boy goes, man, I sure would have loved to have sex with my teacher. And I would say, that sounds great and all. It's still rape. It's still rape when the people can't consent because of their age. Like, I know it sounds funny, and the fact is that she's the daughter of a very important law enforcement official locally and has avoided prison this entire.
So Anna, speaking of bad family dynamics, the family has been back and forth in court outside of the murder. They've been back in court for, I think, custodial issues. Her birth mom and birth dad don't get along. Now the stepdad and his kid is, they're up for murder of the young lady. And what the prosecutors allege is she was sexually assaulted before she was killed. She was intentionally strangled, and he hid her body in the room that he was in. And so I guess there's not too many other suspects here that we can look at. Obviously, you can make a court case out of anything, and you can make a story out of anything in defending someone. But apparently there's some cell phone footage that just recently was acquired. And I think he damaged her cell phone, but they were able to extract some footage off that. And that's where they're now finding. And I think that's what kicked it into high gear to charge him as an adult instead of a teenager. But that was the latest that came out. And then there was a lot of surveillance footage from the cruise ship that's supporting whatever the prosecutor is alleging.
Yeah, it was the cruise ship angle that got action on this, because most crimes committed on cruise ships and out at sea and in the Caribbean that you've never heard of. There are loads of sexual assaults and other horrific crimes committed because they're cruise ships, man. They're cities. You get 5,000 people all that liquor together. Trust me, people gonna do some dumb stuff. You don't hear about them. Except this one had everything fitting together perfect, and the cruise ships couldn't get away from it because the cruise industry wants nobody to hear about this case ever. And you're going to see active media suppression from the travel industry when it comes to this case.
Well, like you said, because she was on a cruise ship and in international waters, it's a federal jurisdiction. And so they have I guess it's the U.S. Attorney's General Office in Southern District of Florida with the FBI is investigating the whole thing. Does that raise the ante on how he's tried, or does that make his charges even more substantial? How does that make an impact versus it being a local jurisdiction?
Well, I mean, it's always more difficult when you're going up against the federal government because they have immense resources, and the prosecutors are usually very, very well trained and have a 90-something% conviction rate. But this particular case was just so horrific. It's one of your worst nightmares come to reality. When you're going on a cruise ship, you think you're protected. You're on a floating city. You got your kids there. You got all your friends. You're having a good time. And then you find your child choked to death and sexually abused underneath the bed in the cabin. That's the worst thing you could possibly dream of. And then for other things to come out, cell phone footage and those things, it's horrible. But as Josh is saying, this is exactly why the cruise industry doesn't want this coming out, because if you find out this happened on Carnival or any of the other cruise ships, you're not going to get on a cruise ship. If this could possibly happen, you don't know if you're going to get justice because they sweep all these cases on the rug. So I just think that this is highly emotional, very damaging, and unfortunate for this family to have to go through this.
And we're going to see admiralty law.
Do you think there'll be a plea deal in this? Are they going to offer him something?
I'm sure they're going to offer him something. I don't know if it's going to be something he wants to take because it's very difficult to win in federal court. So I think you're going to see a very strong motion practice and then plea negotiation.
Yeah. And really, it's what charge can they bring? Federal's just different. And the idea that this young lady had complained and knew about this young man and the family still forced them together, as I understand, the outside custodial process was very contentious. And there was objections to all the. Now, as a divorced dad, I've got a great relationship with my child's mom. I can imagine, though, you just don't have control. You just can't control that. You're sitting there back at home being like, don't bring my child and put them in this situation. The other parent goes, no. Child's coming on the vacation and they're rooming with this other child and you can't say nothing about it.
Oh, Jodi from the block shows up at that point.
But that's why family law and I don't touch that stuff, because those people will kill you.
Yeah. That was a lot. Well, this has been a great episode. Gerald, any closing thoughts on where we are politically in the world? Josh, anything you want to add to where we are? I know we had a lot of Supreme Court decisions this week. We had a lot of movement this week in the legal world.
It's just a lot going on. The Supreme Court was Supreme Courting. A lot of decisions came down, especially the birthright citizenship decision, which was actually an easy decision. It should have been a 9-0 decision, but it turned out to be either 6-3 or 5-4, whichever way you look at it. But ultimately, the rule of law won out in most Supreme Court cases. And I must say, I'm happy to be a lawyer when the rule of law actually matters. But the institutions, at least 5 of them, are holding to the point we can have political debate and have opposing views. But typically, we all agree that the rule of law should hold. It held today. Hopefully, will continue to hold.
If it really did hold, then that demon that's in the White House, and I call him a demon, the 34-count felon, somewhere in that Constitution, you should not be able to run for president. Somewhere in some law, and we just let it slide, And so I don't know. We'll keep track. I want to thank you both, Attorney Gerald Griggs, Attorney Josh Schiffer. Speaking of politicized cases, next week we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk and the Tyler Robinson case. We're going to dive deep into that one because the opinions are loud. People call it an assassination. I'm like, well, if he was assassinated and so was Tupac, you know what I mean? Like
and Biggie.
Really, and Biggie. So we're going to talk about that next week right here on Truth Talks Live.
Words matter.
Words matter. And they elevated it to he's assassinated. I'm like, no, JFK was assassinated. Charlie got shot. So Thank you. This is Truth Talks Live. Like and subscribe, become a member. We have lots of exclusive members only videos that we'll be putting out. If you need legal advice, please hit up attorney Gerald Griggs and attorney Josh Schiffer. They're both on Instagram. You can find them on their handles here, and you can also find them here at Truth Talks Live. Thank you. Peace. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. right here. Truth Talks Live. Hey,